Pledge of allegiance. Courage.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you. Mr. Primo, our prayer, please.
Dear Lord, please watch over and protect our city. Please give us the strength and the guidance that we need tonight to make the right decisions for our city. Amen.
Amen.
Thank you. Roll call, Madam Clerk.
Jeff Cabell.
Here.
Brad Core.
Here.
Clint Crater.
Here.
Lyle Fogelman.
Here.
Vernon Martin. Stephen Primo.
Here.
Sammy Reggie.
Here.
Kim Stringfellow.
Here.
And Byron Wilrich.
Here.
Thank you. All right, before we begin tonight's meeting, I want to extend an apology to the citizens of Crowley for the lack of decorum that has plagued our city council meetings. Effective immediately, I will maintain order in this chamber. As a presiding official, I am charged with the responsibility of making sure all business is conducted in a respectful manner. Respect for this legislative body, respect for me as a mayor, and respect for one another should not be goals we strive to attain. They should be deeply rooted in who we are as elected officials and citizens of this great city. Let me be perfectly clear. Council and committee meetings will be conducted in an orderly fashion. It is only with proper decorum and respect for everyone that the business of this city can be conducted in a timely manner with everyone given fair and equal treatment. The following will be adhered to when they attend all meetings. The agenda will be followed, and anyone deviating from the agenda without it being properly amended will be called out of order. Do not interrupt the person who has the floor. You are not to speak unless recognized by the presiding official, whether that be a committee chair during a committee meeting or the mayor during a council meeting. Outbursts from the public will not be tolerated. You will be called out of order. Any further outbursts will be cause for removal from the meeting. Public input is welcome. However, public disruption of a meeting is not allowed. When called upon to address a committee of the full council, the individual must be recognized by the presiding official before they approach the podium. The use of vulgar language is inappropriate and very disrespectful. It will not be permitted in this chamber, but if used by anyone, you will be called out of order and immediately escorted out of the chamber. Threats and aggressive behavior from anyone in this chamber, either verbal or physical, will result in immediate removal from this chamber. Weapons of any kind are not allowed inside this chamber unless you are hereby on duty, such as the Chief of Police, Jimmy Broussard, and Captain Troy Adair. If you are called out of order, you are to immediately cease your action or your behavior. Otherwise, you will be called out of order again and escorted out of this chamber. A 2-minute rule will be strictly enforced for all who have been granted the floor to speak by the presiding officer. Discussion will be germane to the topic, and only the presiding official is allowed to interrupt that speaker. While in this chamber, I am asking each member of this council to respect each other, respect me as the mayor, respect all city employees, and respect guests who are here to witness and participate proceedings of this body. Nothing less than your full cooperation is acceptable, and nothing more is given than my full commitment to see to it that you abide by those instructions. Now we close the meeting. Now we open public hearing. Mr. Reagan.
Mayor, and members of the council, citizens, here we have a public hearing, rules to show cause, we issued to Louisiana Church Foundation of Christ Church Sanctified by, properly described as lots 19 and 20 of lot 6 of the Walker Edition. Mr. Glenn Howey was appointed to represent the interest of the church, since we could not take service on these people, the church is dysfunctional, apparently, and the representatives were listed, as I understand, were deceased. Therefore, we appointed an attorney. Mr. Howey has a statement to make at this time.
Council and Mr. Mayor, on the Louisiana Foundation of Christ Sanctified Holy Church, which is the legal name of the corporation, the registered agent for that is a Miss Patricia Solomon in Jennings, and her funeral was in October. I was able to find that. There's a second person who's listed on the Secretary of State site as a trustee. I will send certified mail to that address to her, and also from the assessor's office, the address they have for this, I will send certified mail to that address too. I'm asking you to allow me till next month's meeting to do that for this public hearing to satisfy due process. Published in the Post Signal. I had a call from one of the other. I have three. I had a phone call today from a lady. We talked about that one. No contact about this one, so I feel it's necessary to send those certified mail notices to satisfy the city's responsibility to be able to be assured that you can do this without anyone saying, well, I'm going to sue you now because you didn't take those steps. So in what I'm calling the church issue, I would ask that you give me until July's meeting, whatever day that is. And I'll send the certified mail this week, and hopefully I'll have a return from them by then, although I think they have like 45 days to respond to sign the green card. And for information, what I do when I send the certified mail, I'm going to send the same documents, documentation and letter by regular mail, because sometimes people won't sign for the certified mail, but I know they got it if it's not returned to me. And that way, I send a regular letter and a certified mail at the same time. And if you come back in a month and I don't have the green card back, I can tell you if the regular mail was returned or if it was apparently delivered.
Thank you, Mr.
Mayor,
Howard.
members of the council, I would recommend that you accept Mr. Howey's request, and that we at this time, interrupt this hearing, we'll suspend the hearing, and we'll ask Mr. Ford, the chairman of the committee, especially a few months ago, and learned this, we'll take this up immediately after the next two hearings, we discuss those next two hearings, and we will plan Mr. Howard, we will reschedule for the hearing for 30 days from now. It should be adequate to notice purposes and the due process. I concur with Mr. Howard's assessment that due process has not been fulfilled, and therefore I recommend that we suspend and continue this hearing until next month. Yes,
Mr. Court, will make a motion.
Mayor, I'm going to call up business, business, this time. Give me the agenda. Before we make that motion, we
Yes.
13A, take that 13A out before we make a motion to,
Yes, continue reset the hearing for this council meeting, July 14th, 2021. Follow due process.
Thank you. Second? Mrs. Springfellow, second by Ms. Springfellow. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Thank you.
And if I could interrupt, what's the date?
July 14th.
July 14th.
then I'll have a resolution prepared. We'll have a resolution prepared tomorrow, I'll send you all three, okay?
Okay.
Now calling, hearing number 2, condemnation of property belonging to Delron Harrison and Rosemary Harrison, lot 15 and 16, lot 111, city of Crowley. Now,
I'm assigned on that one too, and I have had less success with this one of any of the three. I would ask you to reset it for July, and I will send
got a representative in order, it's not Mr. Harris for that property.
What's that?
They got a representative in the audience right now concerning that property.
We can hear him, if he's here, we can.
Can we call him up?
Yes.
Representative Harrison, say.
Thank you, Mr. Willard. Mr. Harrison, would you come up, please? Mr. Harrison, would you state your name, please, sir?
My name is Harlan Harrison. I represent the late Mr. Theron Harrison Sr. and Ms. Rosemary Harrison. I'm here to try to preserve my mother wanted, my daddy also wants the wall, the brick wall. Got the demolition permit just to be able to demolish the unsafe parts of the property. We've done mostly gutted stuff like that. At the same time, my brother was also sifting things that we could rescue, a lot of things that were small. He still continues to today, pan stuff and stuff like that. I mean, little stuff. It's important to us. We're involved in a lot of different things, including both with the healthcare, both my primary healthcare takers for both of my parents. My dad was both blind and disabled. My mother was double amputee above the knee. So none of them, they're not receiving any kind of they didn't receive any kind of social security, anything like that. Just their teachers retired. And so we don't have a lot of money to spend on a lot of stuff, so I have to deal with what I have. So at the time, I can rebuild, but I save money for that type of stuff. And lots of times they give you a thing and tell you either you demolish or rebuild. You have to have money and funds to be able to rebuild. And I store my stuff by supplies, anything like that. It either gets stolen or something like that. I have to work. At the same time, I have a number of different properties. I don't have what you call blighted houses. I can be vacant. We try to take care of them. We follow by every code. Any kind of codes or things like that, we follow everything by the code. We do things, sometimes we do things, we take time, we got things, there's only the three of us. And since we kind of have to divide time with taking care of my parents and stuff like that, so if I could have time, I'd put a fence there. I already put in one permit there for the fence there. I guess they couldn't move on that because I guess they're still waiting for, I guess, whatever the city says. But if I could put a fence, a privacy fence, I'm following by the rules, it's on the corner. It's way away from the diagonal which you can draw, where you have to be so many feet away from the corner to be able to put a privacy fence. Because according to the rules, you can't have anything you can't see above 3 feet. But because it's in the corner, you can, and we're way away from the corner itself, well within the size of we put at least about 7 feet or 8 inches of fence. I have Mr. Martin was able to ask me to give y'all some diagrams and ideas, so I have these to pass out.
Mr. Harrison, you said you had a permit?
Well, my dad just recently
Purchase the demolition permit?
Oh, look, I tell you what, the reason why they might think that is because my mother, at the time the house was burning, I was at the school sale trying to help out people. Even I met a volunteer fireman that was there at the school sale trying to give them advice like I always do. You come back and find my own house. I was loading a truck at the school sale, loading a truck for somebody's trailer. And I come back to find my house on fire, my parents' house on fire. Like in that day, all the things I have to deal with, I thank the mayor, of course, because I had people, and what you continue today on J.D. Miller. That's another of my property. We pretty much almost own all the property in that area. On one side of the street, we own all that. On the other side of the street, my brother owns two lots at the corner, and the other two properties are two of my relatives. So basically, that little dead end of the street is all belong to the family. And they constantly dump there. That's why they have a sewer lift station, and we have to, that keeps us up and have to deal with that. I'm sure I've gotten a violation before, but I thank the mayor for at least getting the parish, because that's a crime. People been so far 5 or 6 stolen cars. One of them, of course, Chief, you were there one time when they had one of those cars. They had one more after that. Mr. Woolridge, he probably knows, I think his daughter's car, his car was stolen. One of the former mayor's vehicles was, I think it was a black Mercedes. I mean, look, I kill all the grass completely. He said that that area was round up, clear the grass. Unfortunately, only the trees could keep it from eroding. No blighted houses, except for the junk. Somebody probably put one time, somebody destroyed a house, maybe one of the houses got probably had it torn down or whatever. Somebody must have put a whole house and put junk there. Luckily, a mayor got the parish to be able to pick all that stuff up. And that's been going on for almost 20 or 30 years, but luckily we take good pieces by pieces, and some of it we put on the side of the road for parish trucks to pick up. And for some reason, we might have something against somebody, I don't know why. We pretty much able to contribute to the public. You see me before, Chief, at those youth council meetings and stuff like that. I try to do what I can for the public, and the public needs to do for me. You know, and hopefully they might complain about my trees or whatever it is, but we, like I heard Mr. Martin say, micromanage. We tell people, like, cut down the trees over here, and then we develop areas, and try to tell people to preserve the trees in South America. And when they're trying to develop themselves, that's micromanaging. You know, those trees, that just clears up the air and stuff like that. I mean, I can understand that.
Did you go to the inspector's office and get a permit for demolition?
Yes, sir.
Well, Tony, can you come up, please? Let's see if we can, I think we can take care of this. You're taking responsibility for it, you're here tonight. Tony, could you give us an update on?
Okay, my name's Tony Collins, I'm with the Crowley Codes Department. We issued a demo permit to Mr. Harrison back on 5/30 of 2019. That permit is only good for 180 days. That's 6 months. So that has expired. Then we move forward to take and do condemnation on it. If y'all like, here's a picture of the structure that he has over there right now that we submitted to Mr. Reagan.
Mr. Harrison,
Yes, sir.
you understand what the inspector, the city inspector just said that you had 180 days to do that work,
Yes, sir.
and it's been a long
Been done
past.
by only one person.
I understand that. How long is, you say you're gonna do this work, how long is it gonna take you to demolish the house and clean up the property?
Well, sir, the house, that brick wall, look, I don't see the point of destroying that brick wall. It's unsafe.
No, so we talk, you can do what you want, so long as it's within code, okay?
Yes, sir.
You want to keep parts of it, that you can restore it, the city has no objection to it, we just want you to clean it up. That's all we're asking you to do, but we need to do it timely. And I think, we think it's time to do this because we're talking about 2019, it is now 2021, June. In May of 2019, this permit was issued.
That's right.
So this council has a job to do.
I understand that.
Understand it. So, let me say this, you're here for a condemnation hearing, okay?
That's right.
This council has the authority to grant you the right to purchase another demolition permit, but I don't think they're gonna give you another 6 months to complete the work.
I can understand.
You know,
Look,
so we're gonna
there's a lot of stuff that's been removed, sir. A lot of stuff that might not look like anything.
I understand that, but like I'm saying, the council has to make that decision. Like Mr. Collins has just testified that the work has not been complete, you admitted that the work is not complete, and you wanna keep those walls, that's your prerogative.
Well, they said I need to destroy the wall. I was told to destroy the wall. That's what I was told.
If the wall is not a hazard,
But I don't see it to be a hazard.
well, that's gonna be up to the inspector's office to determine. I don't know whether it's a brick veneer wall, if you remove structure around it, a brick veneer wall is not a structural wall, sir. It is going to collapse, it is a hazard.
I understand that we
So
know.
you're gonna have to do that immediately if you wanna save that wall.
The wall's been through 2 hurricanes, plus the part of that fence doesn't just serve that.
Okay, wait.
That's.
You need to
it's a safety
buy,
fence.
you need to get a, you you need a permit.
We already applied for that.
No, you don't. The permit is no good.
Okay,
You understand that? We just went over that. It's 180 days old.
that's right.
It's dead. Penny.
So,
So you have to get another permit. The only way you can get another permit now is this council to decide that, to allow you some time to do it.
but you have to understand that fence doesn't just serve as a fence. It's a safety thing for the wall, while we can brace that. That
You can
patch
brace
is
the
not
wall.
just a fence.
Whatever the inspector, that's something you're gonna have to work out with the city inspector's office about that wall. You need to have another permit to do that work, because it has to be done within code, okay? If you're gonna brace the wall and then you can repair it, it has to be done up to code, there has to be safety measures taken, a fence ain't gonna do it.
Okay, but you're gonna have to give me the detail on what kind of code.
That comes from,
I'm just
the
giving.
code is in the books.
Well, I see it in the
Code-
books, but
code-
there's nothing in particular what
So all that is gonna be handled by the inspector's office, if the code, if this council sees fit to grant it, okay? So you understand what you're asking for time to continue this work. But this council has given you notice that this house is subject to condemnation tonight. You understand that? That means that an order of condemnation can be issued tonight after this hearing, if this council decides that. This council also has the power to modify that order, excuse me. On medication. So, you know, is there anything else you wanna say about how long it's gonna take you to do all this?
Okay, but, look, if I'm using something I need for safety, and that fence is not just serving as a fence, but it's very close to the brick wall, it has its support. That means that's almost like saying, well, look, you know, you can work, but I
That's
can't.
something you have to deal with the inspector's office on this count, we are the acting in the capacity of the.
Oh, I
of the
can
board
clean it
of
up,
Aldermen,
I mean, if
you
you
know,
wanna see it clean, I mean.
That is the
that
administration.
needs to be clean.
Listen, wait, Mr. Harrison, the man behind you is a deputy city inspector. The only duty on his office issues permits, it is the city inspector's office, okay? They're charged with the responsibility of determining whether or not what you wanna do is a safety hazard or not. That's only in the case that this council will grant that, you know, to allow you to do this. But you need somebody to draw up a set of plans that are gonna meet code. And you're gonna have to implement those plans. Tony will explain all that to you, should this council, in their,
Well, I can work with
grant
that
you some
inspector,
time.
that's what you do.
You understand all that?
Understand about safety, that's right.
Right, okay, so this is not a deal that you can just walk away from and say, well, I'll take my sweet time to do it.
No,
You're out of
I'm
sweet
not
time
trying
to
to
do
do
it.
that. I'm just saying
In
that
two thousand nineteen, that you bought that permit, you didn't do, you had more than ample time,
All
2
the work
years.
was being done all the time.
Well, you haven't done much in 2 years, is what this council is looking at and exposing us. That's the problem.
It just might not look like that.
And your neighbors are complaining, there's problems with people going in this area. You had to have the sheriff, the mayor, and I know we tried to cooperate with you. The city has tried to cooperate with the system, you know, like we always do with every citizen. No one wants to tear down property if it can be properly maintained. But a burned house is not suitable. It needs to be taken care of. It needs to be given your priority, your highest priority needs to be on this piece of
Oh,
property.
I definitely know that, I definitely know that, but then look, I'm getting violations, so when they dump on the other places, I'm getting violations, I had to get the, not, it's stop.
Mayor and the chief, but take care of that as best they can.
Oh, I can understand.
Go with the sheriff. We've got cooperation from all the agencies. You know, so that's not an acceptable excuse, sir. I don't want to
Understand.
All we want to do is make sure that you understand that if what you're asking for, if it's granted, is going to take your immediate attention and your constant work on it. This is not something you work on a day and skip a bunch of days. This is going to take day after day working on it and getting it done. I want to impress those.
We can't.
This,
But, are you telling, so you're saying I would be able, with the, if I can get an agreement, be able to have a safety fence put up to protect the wall as it's being built, because when you're doing something, it's like, I say, it's like.
again, that is something you need to take up, if this council approves the time, they're gonna decide what sort of condemnation order they're gonna issue, okay? You know,
All right.
if they decide to allow you to do this work, that'll be contained in the order, but the order will read, you gotta go see the city inspector's office, get a permit, and you're gonna have to abide by the time delay that the council sets, because the 180-day rule is out now. If you don't get another 180
So
days,
now what kind of permit I'm getting exactly?
I don't know yet, because the council has to decide this, okay?
Okay.
All right. Anything else you want to say?
Well, hopefully it'll work out. I mean, look.
Yes, sir.
I'm willing to work for you. I know all about safety. I mean, I've been an engineer and everything like this, so if there's anybody can do it, we can do it. I'm sure Mr. Willis will tell you that, Mr. Martin can tell you that. We're the type of people who can do whatever needs to be done.
Yes, sir. I'm understanding that. I just want to impress you, this needs to be high priority if the council grants it, okay?
Oh, yes, sir. I'll
Tony,
make
you
sure
want to
it's
say
done.
anything else?
Okay, as you can see the pictures I sent you just a second ago that went around, you do understand if 3 walls come down, that 4th wall is not going to sustain itself there, because there's nothing to hold, because it's sitting on a brick ledge. So anytime you take away the other 3 supporting walls, the 4th one's going to possibly fall. It's a safety issue. I can't prove that because I'm not a structural engineer, but I think all of us here in this room tonight knows that you take away anything that's supporting, it's gonna possibly come down.
Tony, as I mentioned, if you could present plans to protect that wall.
If you can get an architect, if you can get an architect to bring us drawings showing that
Yeah.
it can be supported, that would be up to the city council to decide how to go forward with this. But right now, without drawings from a structural engineer, I don't think it would.
You want me to get a certified civil engineer?
Well, that's gonna be up to the city council if they decide that that's what they're gonna move.
If you want that, I'll see about it.
Any member of the council, I think you're welcome to do that. Mr. Harris. Does anybody in the council have any questions? Mr. Harris?
I do.
Yes, sir.
Thanks, Lord. Mr. Harrison, are you planning on tearing this down yourself by hand, or do you have, plans to
brother-
rebuild it, or?
Look, one time when y'all, before, I think, I don't think Mr. Willis was here, but I think it was Mr. Martin, or Mr. Mayor Jones was here. And y'all had it, my brother tear down a building, it was a 2-story building. He did it all himself, big, large, on 1313. He completely did it all by himself. He worked in lighting and everything else, and he did that. That was a huge building, much huger than the house that you see there. He eventually did it according to code, like everything else, the bits by bits, little piece by bit, and had it done. At that time, my daddy and my mother wasn't at the time as bad off as they were. They still, my daddy was still disabled, but my mother was in much better shape and we were able to do that. But now things are a lot different, and we have to work within our means. We have to work with what we have, and I still have to. Like today, every time I come here, I have to leave from Lafayette. And luckily, I was able to take care of my mother and stuff like that before I leave. But I can, like I say, we know all about engineering, but like I say, I'm not any certified for anything like that, but if I need it,
Okay, my question is, are you planning on getting some equipment in there to do this, or are you planning on doing it yourself? Because I can see us maybe giving you a 60-day extension, but if you're gonna be out there by yourself working on that, then I'm not gonna be in favor of that. But if you're telling me that you're gonna get a demolition crew in there or somebody to go in there and tear it
pretty
down.
much the house is gutted on the side.
Okay, so you just answered my question.
That brick wall,
Thank
it's
you.
been taken apart already. A lot of that stuff is not really there. We've already taken from these pictures here, some of the stuff has already been taken down already. We can understand the other part. We would want at least to be able to put, so as we take pieces off, we want to be able to put in support. And we don't like really a lot of wood. I try to work with a lot of steel, so we wanted to put steel in the place, but we really don't care about wood that much at all. Brick and steel is green, we do a lot of tearing down wood and stuff like that, and that's just more trees to cut down. We really like a lot of steel, we would like to replace everything with steel. And we know how to work with steel.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor.
Yes,
Thank
sir.
you, Mr. Harrison. Does anyone else in the council have a question? Anyone else? Mayor, at this time, I'm moving to close the public hearing. Mayor, at this time, I'm moving to close the public hearing.
On this particular, we have another.
You want to bring up the this don't go to the agenda and take this up now?
No, so we can do, next condemnation vote.
Involve the next hearing, Whalen Air property. Next hearing is on the condemnation of property belonging to Whalen and Justine Air, not lot 10 of block 21, Crowley. Anyone here for Mr. Air? Again, Mr. Howard was appointed to represent the succession involved in this case. Mr. Air is one of the co-owners of this property. He lives in Houston, Texas. Mr. Howard, you want to make a statement again?
Yes, I was gonna ask if, Ms. Nora, was they here tonight? In this issue, I went by both houses and the church. I think it's Nora, Abear called me today, and she told me about, all the people who were heirs. Her son, I think, probably owns half of interest in this from, maybe the grandfather or grandmother. And then the others, Wallace Darion and Cedric Darion and Amanda Cawthorn, I think they're siblings, half siblings of her son, on, I think, another half interest. So I did have success from Ms. Abear. I don't know if she's able to supply me addresses for them, but I would send the Darions and Ms. Cawthorn correspondence if you put this off for 30 days. I would also need to send a certified letter like the first one. I think that's the appropriate thing to do, so I would ask you to reset this for the same date, which is July the 14th, I believe. And I can send certified mail to the assessor's address tomorrow, but it might take me a few days to try to find these other folks in Texas. But I'll make an attempt to do that, since the Miss Abear called me, told me about that.
Thank you, Mr. Abbott. Thank you.
You're welcome, sir.
Close this public hearing at this time. Mayor, you want to bring up the,
Yes, resetting the date, please. I'd like to reopen the meeting and amend the agenda, and also to reset the date, July 14th, in this particular item. Mr. Court?
Mayor, I'd like to make a motion to continue, reset the hearing for the next council meeting, July 14th, 2021, allows for the due process.
Will live here, Abbott.
For the Wayland Abear and Justine Senegal Abear property. Block 21.
On the motion? Seconded by Mr. Woodridge. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor.
All right, so if you look on your packet, in your agenda, we're going to bring up other business at this time, which is number 12. Item B, to consider the condemnation of property belonging to Mr. Theron M. Harrison and Rose Marie D. Harrison, described as lots 15 and 16 of Block 111, City of Crowley, Acadia Parish, Louisiana, having a municipal address of 606 West 6th Street. Need a motion?
So moved.
Offered by Mr. Cavell, seconded by Mr. Core. Discussion. Mr. Woodridge?
Anybody have an additional motion to make? Now you can consider, listen, now you can, someone can make a motion to condemn or not. And discuss it.
Okay, Mr. Woodridge. Mr. Woodridge has his hand. Mr. Woodridge?
I was gonna talk about it first.
Yes, sir, it's a discussion. You can.
You make a motion first.
No, but he's saying another motion.
Motion, someone has a motion. What was the motion? Condemn?
Yes.
It's a motion to motion to condemn.
Okay.
You have a motion on the floor already.
Okay, very
And
good.
then Mr. Woodridge just wanted to speak about it. Mr. Woodridge?
And I understand the situation we got here. But honestly, if y'all really think about it, y'all wanna go all the way back to 2019. If we go all the way back to 2019, we got a lot of other properties that came across us, and we ain't got a word on yet. and Mr. Collins could sit here now, and Tony Duhall, but we ain't got answers on the property way back then. But Tom Reagan and Mr. Collins could sit here and jump on this man right here. What about all the problems we got prior to that? And those problems way back in 2019 that never came across our desk yet. And Mr. Collins, are he asking that he wants the wall torn down?
No, he's not asking to tear it down. I believe what he said was it has to be structurally supported. That we, once you take all this wood away, the wall needs structural support. So that's the only thing Mr. Collins is saying, that if he presents the plan, you know, how to structurally support the wall, if he removes that debris, he can handle it, that can be handled if you want to do that. And I think that's a wise precaution, because if that wall falls on somebody after we've had the opportunity to condemn it, then the city has a responsibility.
I totally agree with you 100%, though, so I'm not saying you're wrong, but I told y'all this back when we started, in January. All we did is kick the can down the curb. We done gave everybody that come across us time to do this, this, and this. And the code inspector's office had never got back with this city council to give us information on no property.
This is it right here. This is your time to decide on this particular piece of property, because you're in compliance with the due process of this time. So you can take action on it. If you can't, there's no use in discussing stuff that you can't take action on. But you can take action on this one now. All those are in process. We're trying to process as many as we can, but you can see we're already an hour into this meeting, one hearing. So this is what it takes to get this done. So right now, this council has the ability to give this man some time to do what he says he's going to do, just like Mr. Clay was pointing out. He needs some time. If you want to do that, you have within your power to make that motion, to put that, to say what you want in the order. Grant him a permit.
I would like to give him 60 days to see what he can do. I understand if you don't do it in 60 days, then we got the right to do anything we want to. But you're trying to take a stand now, and we ain't never took a stand in this city council at all. So it's unfair for people to come here now, and everybody gonna say, well, we shouldn't worry back then, and we should start from now, and I understand that. But I always told you it was fair. And whatever black and white, and I don't mean race black and white, I mean what the book say, law, order, and regulations. If we always follow that, we can never go wrong. And my recommendation is trying to give him 60 days to try to see what he could do. If you understand that he can't do it in 60 days, we condemn the house.
So, Mr. Wood, you want to substitute a motion to not to condemn?
That's what I like to do, yes.
Okay, so you need a second.
Yes. Okay,
We need to discuss.
offered by Mr. Wilbur, seconded by Mr. Crater. Discussion? Mr. Crater?
See, this is exactly why we need our blight court as soon as possible, because the burden has been put on us as council people, and I guess we probably have bigger hearts than most, and we, you know, somebody comes up there and pleads their case like that, and it hurts, you know, it hurts for us to say, no, we're gonna tear down your house, and Byron's exactly right. I can remember giving people, you know, we give them 60 days or 90 days, and we still haven't heard anything about all those things way back then. He's absolutely right. But what is the timeline on the blight court? Because that burden should be lifted off of this council and put on a judge and somebody that can handle this stuff. One person, not 9, trying to do this. So do you have a timeline on when we may have that? Because we give him 60 days and
We're trying to get that set up with Mr. Clayton right now. He's agreed to accept the job. However, he is very hesitant, as every other attorney is, because you want to pass on your responsibility as a council to somebody, do this administratively, and tear down houses like this. That is not something, a function of an appointed official most attorneys are very reluctant to do this. We've had a great deal of difficulty finding someone who's gonna act in the judiciary capacity. We even asked a former district judge who retired. And that's the answer we got. So you want, what you're doing is this is the form, this has been the form, and you're right. This council has had a lot of extensions of everything. This is a problem that's developed over the last 20 years, particularly in the last 12 years. Mr. Wood is right. There was no work, there was very little work done. These houses are individual properties. It's simply people have chosen not to take care of. It is their responsibility. But it becomes this council's responsibility to take action on it. I don't know that we can get anybody. We need two attorneys to set this thing up. We have to appoint an attorney. We've got a special counsel who's willing to accept that job to represent the city's interest in condemning these houses in the administrative process. We need an adjudicatory proceeding, so you need to have a hearing officer with judicial authority to take action in these cases. I don't know whether we can get somebody who's gonna want to order condemnation, destruction of homes on in his sole opinion, or her sole opinion, to do so. Take that authority. When it says it specifically in the count that it belongs to elected members as public officials, this has always been the procedure that we've used in the past. If this council decides to condemn a home or a business, period.
I don't know who was first, I'm sorry. Ms. Stringfellow.
Thank you, Mayor. With all due respect, I do not want to avoid my responsibility as council person. We have asked for 2 years to have a plan, a concise plan regarding these blighted homes. I remember myself, Alderman Prater, speaking to the mayor, yourself, Mr. Reagan, and Mr. Tony Udon. We met in the conference room at City Hall, and we said, let's get a plan. This was early in 2019. Let's get a plan for these homes. This is what we ran on. We want to do this. This is important to our citizens. We know this is a problem that has been a problem for a while, and we are passionate about this. Let's get a plan. And no plan was forthcoming. So that is the reason, and that's the reason why we have a citizens group that came forward and is trying to do this. We're trying every avenue we can think of, and I do not believe we are trying to avoid our responsibility as a city council. We are trying to do the best we can, but we need a concise plan on how to do this. We do have properties that were on the list from 2014, and Alderman Woolridge is correct. Why are some coming up for condemnation before others? What is that, what is that reasoning? So, that's all I want to say is just that we are not trying to avoid our commitment.
There was a priority list provided that you had gone through with that, it was provided earlier, the priority list was done. And these were some of these houses, these particular ones, were the ones that you wanted, that you prioritized, and listed as the top houses. That's why we're proceeding with these. But they're the most difficult, as I mentioned previously. We went after them. That's what this proceeding is all about, because they're very complicated. We need to have an attorney appointed to represent you. You're still gonna have to do that in the public hearing, and with the laws. You have to have those, these people, if you can't get those, you have to appoint an attorney to represent them. You're talking about a huge expenditure. You can have, in that case, you can have 3 attorneys you're gonna be paying to give one house.
Okay. Mr. Cabell?
I don't have a microphone. We're all elected to do a job. This is part of the job we have to do. I think we need to do it. We're all elected to do this, and this is part of our scope of work that we're supposed to be doing, whether it's easy, not. And no, it's not easy to sit here and stare at somebody who's had 2 years to get their property taken care of, squared away, and it's still not done. Give them 60 more days is doing just that, kicking that can down the road.
knowing just from what we've already heard testimony tonight, you tear down 3 walls, the 4th is falling. He's either gonna get a civil engineer, structural engineer, whatever, to verify what can be done, and yet he had 2 years to take care of it as well. Even if you take out the year of COVID, he still had 6 months after the 6-month period of the 180 days had expired. So I think if we ever gonna get to that, like you said, point where we wanna stop accumulating these properties, tonight's the night. We can't wait for some court, some group. We need to do our job. And tonight should be that time.
Mr. Vogelman?
That's precisely what I wanted to say. We've been elected to do a job. You knew the job when you took the position. In all due respect, Byron, 730 days have already been provided. This is 2 years ago that this permit was issued. The fault with the department is that they didn't bring this to us sooner. That's the only fault here. You know, we spend hours listening to beratement and who's not doing what and all these blighted properties. Okay, people, here's the first one on the table. What you gonna do? Give another 60 days? And this is not the first time this has happened. This is not the first time that a property's been brought to this council in this capacity that a grace period was given. Yet next month, we're gonna come and we're gonna meet, we're gonna talk for 2 hours and fuss and raise 7 kinds of hell because nothing's being done. Okay, I don't need an administrative judge to tell me when you have a blighted property that has been documented across the board, you are skirting your issue by wanting another plan. This city has always operated this way, and for some reason, this council seems to think all these changes need to be made. Well, I don't agree. I don't agree. And I think if you kick this down the road again tonight, I don't want to hear another argument about 200 blighted properties. I don't want to hear it. I don't want to hear it. You either get on the can and do your job tonight, or just shut up about all of it. I'm sorry. I don't mean to be rude, but I am as frustrated as a human can be with the conduct of the people sitting in this room. Thank you.
Right. Amended? No? There was a substitute motion?
You got a substitute motion on the floor.
Right.
Any motion for the substitute?
Any other discussion for the substitute motion? No further discussion. Call on the vote. Call the question. Call the question, roll call.
Clarify the vote.
Clarify the vote, was this, Mr. Woodward offered a substitute motion to extend, to continue,
60 days.
or 60 days. Right. Yeah.
Consider the original motion on failure after that, you have to reset it here. We have to come back again to
Yeah.
vote on the original motion.
Right. Roll call, please.
Jeff Cavell,
No.
Brad Core,
No.
Clint Crayer,
No.
Lyle Fogelman,
No.
Vernon Martin, Stephen Primo,
No.
Sammy Reggie,
No.
Kim Stringfellow,
No,
Byron Wilridge.
Yes.
The amended motion's failed. Now we revert back to the original motion. And now we're going for discussion on the original motion.
That's the condemn.
Yes, that is to condemn the property.
I call the question.
Okay.
Let's talk about, especially with the time factor, you can be 30 days, 60 days.
No.
This is just condemn.
Everybody needs to start with
That's what
minimum
And I'll make
And all of a sudden, you have to stand up, and they have to stand
days.
for 25 years.
You have to set a minimum date, is 30 days after, you notice that this kind of needs, you have 30 days, just bring it up to standard, or it could go out. If you don't do it, then you get did you work?
Say that again,
Third,
You have to set, in your motion, you set a time delay for it, for the work, for the condemnation order, you grant the condemnation, you order the condemnation, that the work has to be done within a minimum time period of 30 days.
by the owner.
By the owner. The owner has to get notice. That's the same thing that's gonna happen in a proceeding, an administrative proceeding. You have to have notice that once the order is issued, that 30 days will start to run upon service of those documents. If that period is not done, then the issue a notification, the inspector's office issues a notification that a contractor is going to be out there on a certain date. You gotta give them 5 more days. All this is due process by law. Now, I know Mr. Corr is familiar with this because the realtor, he's gone through this before with properties. It takes time to get all this cleared away. It will come fair. The discount is made up to 90 or more days. You've done that before. You've given them 6 months, you don't know. Discounts, but the condemnations that we've done previously, this mistake to believe that there has been no condemnation. This council has already set a precedent to go to 30 days minimum notification. So that's where you are.
that's what's on the floor, the minimum.
Go forward for what you want to do.
Okay. Keep on. Give what you call the question. That's done.
That's in the rough draft of the resolution that I prepared. You saw that it's in effect.
That's correct. 30 days minimum, plus the 5. Okay, call the question. Roll call, please.
Jeff Cabell,
Yes.
Brad Core,
Yes.
Clint Crater,
Yes.
Lyle Fogelman,
Yes.
Stephen Primo,
Yes.
Sammy Reggie,
Yes.
Kim Stringfellow,
Yes.
and Byron Woolridge.
Thank you. All right, that particular motion has been passed. And we'll continue.
Next, we have
Wait. Temporarily close this meeting and open public hearing on item B, Mr. Ray.
We have proposed ordinance number, tonight we have public hearing, proposed ordinance number 1517. It's an ordinance to amend and reenact sections 4-1 and 4-18, Article 1 of Chapter 4 of the Code of Ordinances, to provide for the definition of feral cats, and the impounding and detention of feral cats, to repeal all ordinances, parts of ordinances contrary thereto or contrary to therewith, and to provide for all provisions to be severable, and to provide for all matters relative thereto. First call for the proponents of this issue. Anyone wishing to speak in favor, please come to the microphone this time and state your name. You have 2 minutes to state your support of this proposal. First call. Second call, anyone wishing to speak in favor of this ordinance. Third and final call, anyone wishing to speak in favor? Any council members wish to say anything this time? Ms. Springfield.
Thank you, Mr. Reagan. I'm just confused as to why this came up. Did we have a problem? I mean, I know we have a problem with feral cats, but what is this actually going to, can you explain that a little bit, Mayor,
Yeah.
what this is going to do?
Yes, this was actually going to help Hasia's group, volunteers at our place. And we did have a 10-day hold at one time. Now this is actually moving it to a 3-day hold so they can get it into somebody's loving hands and find a home for these a lot quicker. And there's other reasons, and I'm sorry they're not here tonight to be able to explain a little bit more on it. Yes, ma'am.
So these are just mainly loose cats?
It's
mainly,
only for
not-
feral cats, only
Okay.
feral wild cats. And it's only a 3-day hold for these particular animals.
They're cats that are pets, though.
But this is only for feral cats.
No, this is the definition of feral cats. If you look at the ordinance, so the things, it define the feral cat as a cat that has no collar, no tags, no chips, no written evidence of ownership.
Okay.
Mr. Gordon?
And Mayor, just to clarify, Hasea is in favor of. the
Absolutely,
changes.
they were the ones who requested it, yes.
Yeah.
We received the request directly from Hosea, and we worked out exactly what they wanted to do and how they,
Yes, so making sure that that's on there.
I just have a little concern over the definition of a feral cat. A feral cat is a cat that can't be touched or around animals. If like a veterinarian was contacted, these would be more stray cats or pet cats. A stray cat is something that you can maybe not touch, but you can see them. Feral cats are typically only out at night. And, if you put a feral cat in a cage, a true feral cat, it's gonna come out and attack you. Again, that's a stray cat or a pet cat that you could put in a cage and keep. I just have concern over not only the volunteers messing with a true feral cat, or trying to put a feral. I'm not opposed to it, I'm in opposite, I'm sorry, I'm not opposed to it, I just have some concerns over what they're saying is a feral cat, because there's a lot of definitions of types of wild cats. And, to put a collar on a cat, if you put a dog collar on a cat that's not a breakaway collar, they can hang themselves. So these are just some concerns I have over the way it's defined, and to keep a true feral cat in a cage for 3 days is pretty impossible to do. I think that the cats that these people are talking about are more stray cats, not feral. And then, does every person have to have a collar on their cats that are outside cats? People have outside cats. It's just a little bit of a concern for me, the way it's defined versus an actual definition of what a feral is.
all animals are required to have a collar and a tag showing that they've been raised actually.
Well,
Cat or.
what if their collar falls off and someone, because breakaway collars with cats? It's just a question. It's just something to think of. So before you start asking people to put collars on their cats and they get hung, so in a tree or on a fence or something. Thank you.
This time we call in, we call the opponents. First call for the opponents. Please step forward and state any opposition you might have. First call. Second call for the opponents. Third and final call. No one skipping forward, anyone else from council who has questions or statements? Mayor, Next we have proposed ordinance number 15. Next we have proposed ordinance number 1518. An ordinance to amend and reenact section 10-30 of division 1.5 sewer user fee service charges, article 2, Code of Ordinances, chapter 10 of the Code of Ordinances of the city of Crowley, to amend sewer user fees and charges set forth therein. And what this actually does is to amend the, and provide an exemption for the property owned by the Katy Parish Sheriff's Office and the detention facility, actually owned by the law enforcement district, and the Katy Parish Sheriff's Office owned by the parish of Acadia, to exempt them from certain sewer user fee charges set forth in that ordinance. To repeal all ordinances and parts of ordinances contrary thereto or in conflict therewith, and to provide for the provisions thereof to be severable, and to provide for all matters relative thereto, and you'll see it in parentheses, Katy Parish Sheriff's Department / Detention Center. Anyone wish to speak in favor of this ordinance at this time, please come forward. First call for the proponents. Anyone wish to speak in favor of this ordinance? Second call for the proponents. Third and final call for anyone wish to speak in favor of the ordinance. Anyone wish to speak in opposition? The first call for the opponents of the ordinance. First call. Yes, sir. State your name, please.
Chris Hoosiers. Okay, so you said an exemption for the sheriff department?
The exemption would.
Are we gonna charge them for sewer
No,
fees?
the exemption would apply to only the upper portion of they're gonna
is kind of confusing.
I don't know what's happening. What this ordinance does, it gives them an exemption which allows the charge to be revert to the standard residential base rate and gallon charges rather than the commercial charges out of the city.
Okay, I just wanted
Those, it changes them from an in-city rate to an out-of-city rate to an in-city rate. Anyone else wishing to speak in opposition? Second call. Second call, yes, sir.
Rick Lewis, I just wanted to clarify, is this going back to the deal that was made last time that basically said that if they had to pay the full rate, that they weren't gonna house the city of Crowley prisoners? Is that part of this?
Not that I'm aware of, those.
Okay.
I don't know what, I've never heard that.
Is that part of it though?
It's an economic thing.
Okay.
Look, the sheriff's department is public, the sheriff's department is public, the police are public entities, and they've asked for cooperation, which is normally granted between people, we have other cooperative endeavor agreements with the sheriff's department, with the Katy Parish Police Bureau, and they have with us, so that's a typical thing that's done. One more, third and final call for the opponents, third and final call for the opponents. Anyone wish to speak to the council? Primo.
Yes, just to clarify, this is the police jury, right? This is not the sheriff's department. The police jury, that's correct. Right.
The property is two pieces, there are two parcels. One is owned by the law enforcement district, which owns the old detention center. That is run by the sheriff. The sheriff's department itself, the new facility, is owned by the parish of Katy because they're required to furnish the sheriff, the headquarters of the sheriff's facility. The sheriff, the law enforcement district, however, acquired the old detention center as a supplement to the jail. And so they're two separate tracts of property. They're both outside of the corporate limits. So the exemption will apply to those parcels outside of the corporate limits.
Correct.
Okay. And only those parcels that are defined in that order. And I see none on there, I recommend you. Thank you. We'll now close public hearing and reconvene our regular meeting. At this time, we'll move to item 11, which is the ordinances. Item 11. The first ordinance is an ordinance 1517. An ordinance to amend and reenact sections 4-1, 418, Article 1 of Chapter 4 of the Code of Ordinances to provide for the definition of feral cat and the impounding and detention periods of feral cats, to repeal all ordinance or parts of ordinances contrary thereto or in conflict therewith, to provide for the provisions hereof to be severable, and to provide for all matters relative thereto. As for a motion,
So moved.
offered by Mr. Cord, seconded by Mr. Reggie. Discussion. Now I need a roll call, please.
Jeff Cabell,
Yes.
Brad Core,
Yes.
Clint Crater,
Yes.
Lyle Fogelman,
Yes.
Stephen Primo,
Yes.
Sammy Reggie,
Yes.
Kim Stringfellow,
Yes.
and Byron Woolridge.
Yes.
Thank you. Thank you very much. It does pass. Next is item D, to consider ordinance 1518, an ordinance to amend and reenact section 1030, division 1.5, sewer service user fee charges of Article 2 of Chapter 10 of the Code of Ordinances of the City of Crowley, to amend the sewer user fees and charges set forth therein, to repeal all ordinances or parts of ordinances contrary thereto or in conflict therewith, to provide for the provisions hereof to be severable, and to provide for all matters relative thereto, and then again referring to the Cape Air Sheriff's Department and Detention Center and the police jury. Need a motion, please? Okay, offered by Mr. Cord, seconded by Mr. Primo, I think. Discussion? Roll call, please.
Jeff Cabell,
Yes.
Brad Core,
Yes.
Clint Crater,
Yes.
Lyle Fogleman,
Yes.
Stephen Primo,
Yes.
Sammy Reggie,
Yes.
Kim Stringfellow,
Yes.
and Byron Wilridge.
Yes.
Thank you very much. And this motion does pass. Now we'll move to regular business and.
We don't have a copy.
I'm getting ready to get to that, yes, sir. Next, we'll move to I got approval of the minutes, regular council meeting held on May 12th, 2021,
No, so move.
offered by Mr. Cavell. Seconded by Mr. Crater. Discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed?
Nay.
Next is the mayor's report. Sales tax chart. As you can see, there has been an increase of 18.91%. And from last year, this month, next one, you're looking at about $230,000 increase at this time. Next is our sewer user fee chart. Shows where we have a 26.6% increase. And there was an increase from month to month at approximately right at about $11,000. Next is the budget analysis. On the budget analysis, we look to be where we're very close to where we're supposed to be. And we're actually looking a little bit better. And on expenses, we're looking really good. Yes, sir.
The question was asked last month about the general fund balance, and I think you said you were gonna provide that to us.
I did have those numbers at that time for committee, and I had them ready for you, and I do not have them at this second.
Mayor,
Yes, sir.
if I may object, I would provide the figure that you provided me, even though it's not current today, but it reflects last month, after the enormous check for insurance was written, what the general fund actually fell down to.
That is correct. It
The city
actually,
of Crowley is living paycheck to paycheck.
yes, sir, at that point in time, we had to write a check for $673,000 for our insurance, and it dropped our 100 fund balance down to right at about $630,000. That is correct. So, and you are correct, Mr. Fogelman. We did have approximately 1.2 to 1.3 million, and we had to write a check for insurance. Insurances are expensive, and we had, this was liability insurance as well, and it's part of our umbrella. It's very, very expensive. Mr. Stringfellow?
Thank you.
So you said it was liability insurance. Can you clarify, is it just liability insurance or what insurance exactly? Was it medical or?
No, ma'am. Liability insurance.
It was just liability?
Yes, if I'm not mistaken, yes. It was a package, it's an umbrella package, but yes, it's all buildings, all vehicles.
Workers' comp as well, or?
Yes,
Okay,
yes.
so medical as well, or
No.
no, just workers' comp and liability?
Liability.
Policy is a blanket policy. It has a number, the policy actually is about 17 or 1,800 pages. Okay? It covers, the city of Crowley has a huge responsibility. It covers all kinds of liability, errors and omissions, officials, police liability, general liability, vehicle liability, all the vehicles that are insured have to be insured. You have all these coverages that exist under the policy. The combined total premiums is what the mayor's talking about for all these coverages. That's what the check was written all of your coverage is, it's all under an umbrella of the policy, that is a comprehensive policy that is developed by the insurance people with recommendations many years ago, and we continue that, and it's been a very successful program for the last 25 years. That program has been implemented, and we've saved millions, that $600,000 has saved the city millions of dollars.
Mr. Gordon?
And that insurance amount was, part of the budget. We anticipated, insurance, expenditures and approximately that amount.
Actually, no, sir, that was, this payment was actually over the anticipated projected budget. I'll give you, one particular department, the police department, it was, projected at about $50,000 lower. So it went up approximately $50,000 just on the police department, just that one department. Mr. Stringfellow?
All right, Mayor, is it possible, can we get a report of
Yes,
which departments went over and by what
Absolutely.
percentage and everything? like that?
Absolutely.
Okay,
I just don't have it with me
no,
tonight.
that's fine, it just, yeah. just when it's
Absolutely.
done. Thank you,
We'll have you that information as soon as possible.
thank you.
All right. Next. Okay. Apologize, I didn't have the copies for you, but you do have a copy, and I need those back, please. Please don't write on them as much as possible. I need those back from Ms. Young. All right, as you can tell, the very first one we're gonna do is Community and Economic Development. Mr. Reggie?
Thank you, Mayor. Community and Economic Development Committee convened Wednesday, June 2nd, 2021 at 4 p.m. in the council chambers. A quorum was present. Under action items, a motion was offered by Alderman Byron Wilbur and seconded by Alderman Clint Crater to approve the industrial tax exemption application number 2020049-ITE filed by Supreme Rice Mill LLC, the Louisiana Department of Economic Development. Motion carried, and I so move.
Who was first? Offered by Mr. Reggie, seconded by Mr. Vogelman. All in favor? Opposed? Thank you. Pass.
Under non-action items, I announced that Crowley had placed second in its division for the statewide Clean the City contest, and there was no further business to come before Community and Economic Development Committee, and the committee recessed.
Thank you. Oh, sorry, yes, sir.
Mr. Reddy, I have a question. Just curious who plays first?
West Monroe.
West Monroe.
West Monroe? Yes.
Yes.
We're gonna get them next year. We'll get them next year.
Okay. Okay, next, number 2 is Public Works. Mr. Crater.
Thank you. The Public Works Committee convened Wednesday, June 2nd, 2021 at 4 p.m. in the council chambers, and a quorum was present. A motion was offered by myself and seconded by Alderman Vernon Martin to approve partial payment estimate number 11 to Southern Constructors Incorporated for the citywide drainage improvements project in amount to be provided by the city engineer at the June regular monthly meeting, which is tonight, of the Crowley City Council, and that motion carried, and I so move.
Second.
Offered by Mr. Crater, seconded by Mr. Cavell. Discussion? Mr. Crater, do you have the amount?
I have the
I'm
information.
sorry, Mr. Crater.
Yes, I'll give you all the information that I usually give you on percent complete, total value of the complete project and so forth.
Project is 75% complete by time, 50% complete by cost. The total value of completed work to date is $2,213,624. We are retaining 5%. That amount is $110,681.23. And the amount due, which is the amount you would be approving tonight, is $56,013.91. That's 56013.91. No further discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Thank you. Pass.
The motion was offered by myself and seconded by Alderman Lyle Fogelman to award a construction contract to Glenn Leger Construction LLC for the 2021 citywide street improvements contract 8 project in accordance with the letter of recommendation and bid tabulation prepared by the city engineer. That motion carried and I so move.
Offered by Mr. Grader, seconded by Mr. Reggie. Discussion? All in favor? Opposed? Thank you. Pass.
Motion was offered by myself and seconded by Alderman Vernon Martin to approve partial payment number 3 to Triton Construction LLC for the city-owned parking lot improvements project in an amount of $166,390.61. That motion carried and I so move.
Second.
Offered by Mr. Grader, seconded by Mr. Cavell. Discussion? All in favor? Opposed? Thank you. Passes.
A motion was offered by Alderman Lyle Fogelman and seconded by Alderman Brad Ford to adopt a resolution authorizing the preparation of specifications and authorizing the advertisement for bids and designating the time and place that the bids will be received for the fiscal year 2021-2022 materials contract. That motion carried and I so move.
Second.
Who seconded? Okay. Offered by Mr. Grader, seconded by Mr. Primo. Discussion? All in favor? Opposed? Thank you. It passes.
A motion was offered by Alderman Brad Ford, seconded by Alderman Lyle Fogelman to adopt a resolution authorizing the extending of the existing contract with EL Habits Builders Incorporated through February 28, 2022 for the fiscal year 2020-2021 labor and equipment contract. That motion carried and I so move.
Second.
Offered by Mr. Grader, seconded by Mr. Core. Discussion? All in favor? Opposed? Thank you. It passes.
Under non-action items, the Public Works Director, Mr. Albert John, presented the monthly Public Works report. The Street Commissioner, Mr. Gilbert Ozing, presented the monthly Street Department report. And the City Engineer, Mr. Tim Mader, presented the monthly Engineers report. Alderman Vernon Martin requested an update on the parking lot at the Martin Luther King Center. The City Engineer discussed the need for improving drainage between the parking lot and the pavilion. In the short term, there would be patching and overlay. Alderman Martin stated the new restroom facilities were a priority, then the long-term fix for the parking lot should be addressed next. There was no further business to come before the Public Works Committee, and the committee recessed.
Thank you. Next is Utility Committee. Mr. Martin is not here. Mr. Reggie. Thank you.
The Utility Committee convened Wednesday, June 2nd, 2021 at 4 p.m. in the council chambers. The quorum was present. Under action items, the motion was offered by Alderman Lyle Fogelman and seconded by Alderman Jeff Cavell to adopt a resolution authorizing Mayor Tim Monson to sign and submit all necessary documentation in connection with the Louisiana Community Development Block Grant Program and authorizing Mayor Engineering Incorporated to proceed with preparation of plans, specifications, and grant administration. Motion carried and I so move.
Second.
Offered by Mr. Reggie and Mr. Primo, second. Discussion? All in favor? Opposed?
Nay.
Thank you. It passes.
A motion was offered by Alderman Lyle Fogelman and seconded by myself to adopt a resolution authorizing 4 city official employees to sign the request for payment forms for the Louisiana Community
Mr. Reggie, seconded by Mr. Cabell. Discussion. All, Ms. Stringfellow?
What is this for again?
It's for a grant block program, it's for a grant, and you have to have 4 signatures, and that's all we're asking. It's just to be able to allow 4 signatures.
Oh, so it goes along with the first, so it goes along with number 1?
Mayor, I mean,
But it goes along with it.
Yeah.
Yes, okay. Yes. Mr. Mayor, I'm sorry, I didn't
I
see
can
you.
explain it. These three all go together with the $1.6 million Louisiana Community Development Block Grant that was awarded to the city of Crowley last month.
No further discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Thank you, it passes.
A motion was offered by Alderman Lon Fogelman and seconded by Alderman Jeff Cabell to adopt a resolution authorizing the establishment of a separate, non-interest bearing checking account for the Louisiana Community Development Block Grant Program Funds. Motion carried, and I so move.
Second.
Offered by Mr. Krieger, seconded by Mr. Fogelman. Oh, I'm sorry, Mr. Reggie, apologize. I didn't, sorry. Mr. Reggie, not that good. Mr. Reggie, offered by Mr. Reggie and seconded by Mr. Fogelman, I'm sorry. Discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed?
Nay.
Okay, thank you, it passes.
Under non-action items, wastewater superintendent Tim Crater presented the monthly wastewater report. City engineer Tim Mater presented the monthly engineer's report, and there was no further business come before utility committee and committee recessed.
Thank you. Next is recreation, Mr. Primo.
Thank you, Mayor. Recreation Committee meeting were held Wednesday, June 2nd. Under action items, there were none. Under non-action items, Recreation Director Peter Kirsch presented the monthly Recreation Department report. City Engineer Tim Mater presented the monthly engineer's report. There was no further business to come before the committee, and the committee recessed.
Thank you, Mr. Primo. Next is Mr. Fogelman, zoning and annexation.
Thank you, Mayor. Zoning and Annexation Committee convened Wednesday, June the 2nd at 4 p.m. in Council Chamber. Quorum was present. Under action items, a motion was offered by myself and seconded by Alderwoman Kim Stringfellow to reject the favorable recommendation of the Crowley Planning Commission and deny the variance of ordinance 7.701 for Bass LTD to erect 2 digital billboards, with one being at the southwest corner of Highway 1111 and Tower Road, and the other being located at the northeast corner of North Parkinson Avenue and Oddfellows Road, with the following stipulations applying to both billboards. Each billboard not to exceed the size of 12 feet by 24 feet, each billboard not to exceed an overall height of 37 feet, and one side of the billboard being electronic and the other side of the billboard being static. The motion carried, and I so move.
Second.
Okay, offered by Mr. Fogelman, seconded by Ms. Stringfellow. Discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
To deny.
To deny.
That's correct.
Aye.
To reject. All in favor to deny, to reject.
Brad, did you want to say something?
Yes, I need to abstain from discussing and voting on this matter to the relationship ongoing
Okay,
with this particular business.
all right.
And because there is a potential conflict as a representative of one of the community.
Yes, yes.
You have clerk, please note that. She is, right now. All right, try that again. All in favor for denying and rejecting?
Aye.
Opposed? is noted that Mr. Court has abstained.
Okay. Prior to the above vote being taken, Mr. David Saunier with Bass Limited addressed the committee and answered questions posed to him regarding the two digital billboards. Under non-action items, City Engineer Tim Mater presented the monthly engineer's report, and there being no further business to come before zoning and annexation, the committee recessed.
Thank you, Mr. Fogelman. Next, we're gonna do public safety, but Mr. Court, I have five speaker cords, which all pertain to public safety. So if you could allow them to speak first. I want to remind everyone who I do call, I will be keeping the time. I do not have the clock here yet, but I will get a clock by the next meeting where you can see the time that you have remaining to speak, and you do have 2 minutes. I will call Mr. Jason Chambers.
Mr. Mayor, City Council, good evening. Thank you for having me, giving me the opportunity to speak very quickly. I'm not here to ask for anything, just here to share some information and try to give something back to this wonderful city, Crowley, Louisiana. So Jason Chambers, I'm Director of AHU Properties, LLC, based here in Crowley, Louisiana. I'm proud to serve this community here. I just wanted to share, I previously briefed the mayor and the cab on what we're doing in the area, and I think we might have some mutual interest and maybe provide some responsible solutions for some of the blight and city beautification issues that have been coming up recently. We've been purchasing and repairing properties here for up to the last 6 to 7 months. Currently have 12 properties under our ownership with more in the pipeline. We're repairing these properties, and we've also communicated with the housing authority. We have an interest in affordable housing to place families in some of these homes that are in these blighted areas. Just wanted to share this overall, what we're trying to do. We want everything that we do, we want to do in service of the community and also within the vision of what the city has planned going forward. So I'm here just to share that, if there's anything that we can do to help beautify the city, improve the neighborhoods. We're primarily in South and West Crowley at this time. I'm more than happy to provide that service. As far as my personal background, I'm a 22-year Army veteran, disabled veteran, instructor pilot, and we're a service disabled veteran-owned small business, again, based out here in Crowley, in service to the community. And again, thank you for allowing me to speak very quickly. If anyone has any questions, I'd be more than happy to hang out after. I don't want to take up too much of your time, but happy to be here and happy to continue to work with the city.
Thank you, Mr. Jason.
Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Jason. Next is Rick Villagewam, addressing public safety on trash, grass, and so forth.
Okay. Just very quickly, I think all the council, the mayor included, got the pictures that I sent earlier this week. I want to start off by saying thank you to the members of the council that reached out to ask if there was any action being taken. Thank you to the mayor for taking action where that was concerned and making some phone calls. Just a brief update, the trash that you saw was picked up, I believe, today. And hopefully, after speaking with the mayor, I believe code enforcement is going to be addressing the grass issue next door to my house. The only question I had, could we as citizens get a clarification of the process where this is concerned? And I asked this is why. 2 months ago, Mr. Crater and Mr. Reggie I don't know if it was both or just one of them, had addressed the house that was next door to mine with the grass and with the gentleman that was living in his truck in the driveway. That was 2 months ago. Here we are 60 to 90 days later, grass is still growing, nothing's been addressed, still the gentleman living in his truck next door to my house. So I guess the question I'm asking, and it's a confusion I think with a lot of people, what is the time frame for the legality where this is concerned, if we can do that in less than 2 minutes?
Actually, no, sir, we can't.
Okay.
But I can have an answer for you tomorrow, if you would be so glad.
I will.
Either to call or come by, and we'll have an answer for your question in code enforcement.
Fantastic. Thank you all very much, and thank you all again for y'all's assistance with everything. Thank you.
Thank you. Next is Reverend, and I hope I'm saying this right, Reverend D.A. Francis Sr. concerning the block.
discussed something about cats. And it's ironic to me that you're more concerned about animals than you are lives. There is an issue in Crowley right now, especially in West Crowley, where you have 13 to 16-year-olds around here causing violent acts. Innocent people are being shot, people are being harmed, people's lives are being affected by this. And my question is, what will you do? I understand people have to parent their children, and that's part of the issue. I also understand that there is some legalities concerning how you deal with minors when they're doing crimes. And what I hear is that they're handcuffed by the law, so there's not too much they can do. So that means the lawmakers need to do something to change the law, because we're handcuffed by the law. So my question is, what can the council, the mayor, chief of police, do to solve these issues?
Chief, since it's a long question, Matt, would you care?
I will. I do express the same concern Reverend Francis has. Right now, I think what this council and mayor can do is petition our state lawmakers to change the laws. We have 5 secure juvenile facilities in the state to house juveniles. 5. 1 we can use mainly, and that's in Lafayette, because we have a contract on behalf of the city with them. That's if they have beds. If not, we're stuck. When we reported to you that we had 22 arrests, those were actually indictments of the grand jury, which moved them from juvenile status to adult status, where they were able to be put into an adult facility. We had 2 more today. 1 was an adult already, but another one, I believe, was a juvenile that was adjudicated an adult. The laws have to change, but before it can come before this body, we have to press our state bodies, our legislators, to change these laws. And then we can bring it down to our level.
All right, thank you, Chief. Sorry, time's up. Thank you, Reverend Francis.
Thank you.
Next, Mr. Russell Huffbauer on crime.
Thank you, Mayor Moss and the City Council. Thank you for giving me the opportunity to address you as a concerned citizen of Crowley. As I'm a long life resident of Crowley, except for my time during military service, I still reside here in Crowley. If I may, I'd like to speak about the crime in the neighborhood and the cab issue. In the summer of 2016, my garage was broken into, had several personal items that were stolen, filed a police report. Nothing came about the police report, so my wife and I stay up night and day to ensure that this doesn't happen again. We see a lot of bike traffic at night, motorized bike traffic, as well as manual bikes. You see a lot of male individuals more than female individuals that are carrying backpacks with minimal in a backpack. So I'm assuming it may be break-in tools. I can't answer that. I don't know what it is. But there has been an elevation in crime in Crowley. And I'd like to address the council on that. What can be done? I realize what the chief was saying as far as juveniles, but a lot of these individuals are older than juveniles. I know through past experience there have been several break-ins in the neighborhood that I live in, and same thing, nothing's recovered. So I implore all of you in here to come up with a solution to assist the citizens of Crowley. Now, as far as the cab issue, what I'd like to know is if the public can view the list of all the blighted properties as well as the map that they have. It'd be nice if they would have that at City Hall. little small article in the Crowley paper so more citizens are aware of the Citizens Against Black Committee. And thank you.
All right, thank you, Mr. Wilson. Next, Mr. Richard Hughes on fine ordinances.
Good evening. I brought up, or tried to get it on the agenda for the committee meetings for the change in ordinance for fines, grass, junk, trash, all that kind of thing. And I brought these along. This is what we handed in to Mr. Reagan, if you don't pass this around. Really, all we were asking for is a request to open up conversation and you all decide what's going to go on. And apparently, there wasn't enough time to get it on the agenda, but it was mentioned to me that we could discuss it tonight. I'm not sure if you all are ready to do that, but I am. And
No, sir, we won't be able to discuss that this evening, but it can be discussed at our next committee meeting.
okay, so we'll be on the agenda for the next meeting.
Yes, sir,
Wonderful. Thank you.
absolutely. I'm sorry. Okay, I will resume public safety. Mr. Core?
Public Safety Committee convened Wednesday, June 2nd, 2021 at 4 p.m. in council chambers. Quorum was present. Under action items, a motion was offered by the chair and seconded by Alderwoman Kim Stringfellow to adopt a resolution introducing a proposed ordinance to amend and reenact section 14-23C of Article 2 of Chapter 14 of the Code of Ordinances of the City of Crowley, Acadia Parish, Louisiana, to designate West 14th Street and Taylor Avenue as a four-way stop intersection, to repeal all ordinances of ordinances contrary thereto or in conflict therewith, to provide all matters relative thereto, and calling for a public hearing on same. The motion carried, and I so move.
Offered by Mr. Core, seconded by Ms. Stringfellow. Discussion, and keep in mind, this is just a set of date. All in favor? Oh,
Were we going to, we had discussed that we were going to add, because there were more stop signs that we had discussed. Remember that? And you said you would ask Mr. Reagan to add those. You recall, Mayor?
and I was going by the report that the chief gave. Apologize, chief.
It was verbal, and you said we could add that
No,
on.
no, ma'am. The chief gave a report, and sent it to myself and to Mr. Reagan, and that's what that was based on the report that the chief gave us.
Okay, well,
The ordinance recommendation of the chief, that was the instruction.
right.
To add, allow the chief to make the recommendation, and to go with the recommendation of the chief.
Right, and he agreed that because there was another one, to break up the one on 15th as well, to break up the traffic on 15th and 14th.
I never got that.
And it was just a verbal thing that the mayor said he would ask, and it would be a simple thing for you to add, Mr. Reagan.
It was brought up and it was discussed in committee. I don't know if it moved forward from that.
So
You can amend it, I can, that's not a problem, the chief is right. The authorization of the council is one of the chief, and we agree to, I have no problem if you want to amend it, I can put it in right now, and then I'll handwrite it in. It's just an introduction, we're not taking any action, so.
Right.
You
If
know,
we could-
You can do it either way, we can do it, West 14th and West Street.
It's Taylor and 15th.
If you don't mind, since we don't,
It's a different street altogether, it's 15th Street.
No,
Right, but it's like, it's
Why don't we do this, so we don't get into, Mr. Reagan, why don't we do this, so we don't get into big discussion? Why don't we allow the chief to resubmit a recommendation according to what Ms. Stringfellow is requesting as well? And then you'll have that information.
We can do that, and then we have another change it, and make it precise exactly what, make sure we get the right nomenclature and the right position in the ordinance. Because these ordinances are structured, and to keep those how we have that all listed, so we need to list it in there precisely.
Okay, Mr. Cavell?
I'd like to amend the motion and take the recommendation of the chief, and upon his recommendation, add to the present motion on the table.
Okay. Yeah. Okay, amended motion and seconded by Ms. Stringfellow. Discussion? All in favor? Opposed? Thank you. Okay.
A motion was offered by the chair.
Now you got one motion as amended. Your voice is amended, doesn't mean.
I'm sorry. Okay, I apologize. Okay. You still offering, Mr. Cavell? You offering the motion, the amended motion? We voted on it, so now we have to vote on the amended one. The motion to allow the chief to make the recommendation.
Vote as amended.
The motion has been amended, now we need to vote. Offer, Mr. Core,
Yes, I offer the
Thank
amended
you.
motion.
and second, please. Ms. Stringfellow, thank you. Discussion, all in favor? Opposed? Thank you.
Then we have to get it in writing, we can take care of it.
Yes, thank you. A motion was offered by the chair and seconded by Alderman Byron Wiltridge to adopt the resolution introducing a proposed ordinance to amend and reenact section 14-21A3 of chapter 14 of Article 2 of the Code of Ordinances by adding thereto that portion of West 14th Street from Western Avenue to intersection with Buett Avenue to establish the speed limit of 25 miles per hour, to repeal all ordinances or parts of ordinances contrary thereto or in conflict therewith, to provide for the provisions hereof to be severable, to provide for all matters relevant thereto, and to call for a public hearing on same. The motion carried, and I so move.
Offered by Mr. Core. Seconded by Ms. Stringfellow. Discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Thank you.
The following was not brought to committee, but it is on our agenda, to consider approving of 2021 Class B retail and Class B packaged liquor beer and liquor permit for Silver Investments LLC, trade name Crowley Corner Express, located at 705 Southeastern Avenue, and I so move.
Offered by Mr. Core. Seconded by Mr. Krieger. Discussion? Mr. Krieger?
Is that the old Commodore?
Yes, sir, it sure is.
Thank
Oh, Chief?
Just to add that, we did check them out, criminal history has been well, which came out clear.
Awesome. Awesome, thank you very much. Yes, I'm sorry, go ahead.
Thank you, Mayor. Under non-action items, Chief of Police Jimmy Broussard presented the monthly police department report. Fire Chief Lucas Romero was absent on medical leave and no monthly.
Mr. Core, I'm sorry. We didn't vote. All in favor? On this is on approving, consider the approving of the beer and liquor permit. Opposed? Thank you. In fact, I apologize. Mr.
Okay,
Core?
Mayor, I thought you gave me leave to continue.
Yes, sir, I'm sorry.
Again, on non-action items, Chief of Police Jimmy Broussard presented the monthly police department report. Fire Chief Louis Romero was absent on medical leave, and no monthly fire department report was given. Code Enforcement Officer Tony Duhon's report, written report was read to the committee by the chair. An update from Rich Hughes and Emily Stoma, representative of Citizens Against Blight Committee, was presented. Their list of 521 blighted properties has been reduced to 475 in just 6 weeks. 31 properties have been purchased to be renovated with contractors, and as of this date, 9 of the 31 are being rented. A list of 24 blighted properties has been provided to code enforcement, and Kev would like a regular weekly update on the status of those 24 properties. So far, code enforcement has provided only one update. Mr. Hughes and Ms. Stoma would like cooperation from code enforcement and open communication. CAB will provide a list of blighted homes to anyone interested, and a color-coded city map of the locations of the blighted properties is also available. Mayor Motso stated he would like for CAB to continue their efforts and thank them for their hard work. He will address with code enforcement or timely updates for CAB. Chief Broussard will do a four-way stop study on West 15th Street to determine if one is needed at either West 15th and Taylor Avenue or West 15th and Huffpower Avenue. He will have the results for the next meeting. Luke Dupre appeared before the committee with the information on juvenile justice grant, which he and Detective Ryan Temple have been working on. The due date for the grant application is June 22nd, 2021, and if awarded, the funds will be used to address juvenile crime in Crowley. Alderwoman Stringfellow requested clarification on bar closing times in Crowley. Chief Broussard indicated the ordinance needs some clarification. Bars in Crowley must stop selling alcohol at 2 a.m., but customers have until 2:30 a.m. to consume the alcohol. Chief Broussard suggested the city attorney provide the clarification, and the chair and Alderwoman Stringfellow would like the ordinance streamlined and simplified. Captain Gamel, aka Mr. Ali, approached the committee and discussed his recent citations for accumulation of junk and operating a business without a license at 127 West 9th Street. An update on current general fund balance and balances in recreation, police, fire, wastewater, and street department was referred by the chair to the Revenue and Finance Committee. There was no further action to come before the Public Safety Committee, and the committee recessed.
Thank you. It's not on the agenda, but
Would you allow us to discuss some of the criminal problems or crime problems that the citizens brought forth before us?
no, sir, it's not
While
on the
we're,
agenda.
while we're in public sector, okay?
No,
Thank you.
sir.
Sorry.
Mr. Cole, you recess?
Yes, sir.
Okay.
I indicated it was recessed.
Thank you. Next is number 7, Public Buildings Committee. Mr. Woolridge.
Public Buildings Committee convened on Wednesday, June 2nd, 2021 at 4 p.m. in the City Council chambers. A quorum was present from Woodbury. On the action items that was done, on the non-action, don't really make sense to go over that because I already made the decision. So, there be no further business to come before Public Buildings, we recess.
Thank you. Next, Insurance and Personnel, Ms. Stringfellow.
Thank you, Mayor. The Insurance and Personnel Committee convened Wednesday, June 2nd, 2021 at 4 p.m. in the council chambers. The quorum was present. There were no action items or non-action items.
Recess. Thank you. Next is Revenue and Finance, Mr. Cavell.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. The Revenue and Finance Committee convened on Wednesday, June 2nd, 2021 at 4 p.m. in council chambers. A quorum was present. Under action items, a motion was offered by myself and second by Alderman Sammy Reggie to approve the appropriation request from Chief Jim Broussard in the amount of $13,000 from the general fund to reimburse the police department's emergency overtime paid as a result of Hurricane Laura in 2020. The motion carried, and I so move.
Second.
Offered by Mr. Cavell, seconded by Mr. Vogelman. Discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed?
The motion was offered by myself and seconded by Alderman Sammy Reggie to engage Calder, Slavin and Company LLC for auditing services, and Louisiana Legislative Auditor statewide agreed upon procedures, SAUPS, for the City of Crowley's fiscal year ending August 31, 2021. The motion failed due to a tie vote, 2 yea and 2 nay. Under non-action items, Stephen Musso, a CPA with Darnell Sykes firm, introduced himself and his firm to the committee. Darnell Sykes is an auditor for municipalities, and if requested, they would submit a proposal to the city for city auditor consideration. There was no further business to come before the Revenue and Finance Committee. The committee recessed.
Thank you, Mr. Bell. Next, Mr. Mailer, engineers report.
Nothing further.
Okay. Looking for a motion to adjourn. Offered by Mr. Bowman, seconded by Mr. Court. Thank you. Hey, Rich. Rich.
I don't mind giving Thank you.
Thank you.